Hey guys, good morning. So it's Tuesday. I'm going to just call this my midday, even though it's a little bit earlier than I would normally do my midday. But I got a story I want to share with you guys, and also kind of a couple of updates. So um, yesterday was kind of a neat day. Nothing transcendental, but I was able to make it into Hannah, Indiana, and went into a town. Town it was Hannah, but I went to an establishment called the Hannah Hub, and I met Brett and Gail at a proprietor's, but I was able to have lunch there. I hadn't eaten at the campground, and Gail, everyone kept saying that Gail makes this crazy food and crazy good, and I had a home-cooked meatloaf meal that was just amazing. So that was really cool. And then aside from the weather last night, I got to meet a lot of really great people that were there. Laura and April were really supportive of the journey and what I was doing. I met some other folks. I met Heath and Ben. You know, one of the things that's been the most intriguing or surprising of this journey, honestly, I knew I would kind of get, you know, the on the 50, let's say the 50 and up group, right? I knew I would get those because we all long for, you know, the way we grew up and things like that. They would understand the value of what I was doing. And I kind of knew I'd get the moms, you know, moms understand kids and the love for the kids and want to make the world a better place. What I had no idea, and which surprises me literally day after day, was the guy to young guy acceptance of this journey. You know, as guys, we kind of brought up kind of being trained to not be emotional and not buy into things, and you know, I've been so surprised where I'll go and be sitting next to somebody or talk to somebody that I wouldn't think would have an interest. I've been in, you know, Speedway, convenience stores, and talked to, you know, the big rough construction guy, and I don't want to say he melts like putty, but he kind of gets it. You just see him soften up a little bit. I've been young guys like last night, Ben and Heath, you know, young guys that would probably be more interested in talking about, you know, their golf game or Fortnite or you know, heading out on the weekend to get girls or something, and to talk to these guys and have them understand what I'm doing has been so meaningful. So that was something last night. So I met Richard and Don. Don is from Australia, from Tasmania. I got to learn about that. Just some really great people. And I went to bed last night pretty early. Well, I don't know how early it was. I'm still on East Coast time and I'm in Central time now. But I got up and I hit the road today. It was real foggy. The weather looks like it's perfect out now. The sun burned it off and I started making my way. But a couple of things happened that I wanted to call attention to, and then I want to share a story of this morning already that was really meaningful to me. So yesterday I told you about a law officer that kind of rolled up on me and kind of said some nice things and said, look, just want to make sure you got a place, let me know if you have any issues. Well, last night I didn't have any service on my phone, so I didn't get a lot of calls. And when I got out on the road this morning, one of the voicemails that I had was from this gentleman, and left me a voicemail that said, hey, I just wanted to check in and make sure you had a place to stay. So I texted him, said thank you so very much for you know, reaching out to me. But again, you know, it's nice when sometimes we forget that people offer, and then we forget that they follow up. And this gentleman cared enough to reach out to me last night. I'm sorry I wasn't there to get his message. But I mean, much appreciation for my family and myself for reaching back out. Along that same note, this was pretty interesting. So I'm settled down right now trying to get some paperwork done and organize the rest of my day. I've made some really good time getting close to Valparaiso. I'm only probably about 4 miles outside of Valpo right now. But I saw a voicemail from somebody, and so I played the voicemail. And there was a gentleman that called me and said, hey, I don't know the name of the town, I'm going to butcher it up, Watana, something like that. But I got a voicemail from a gentleman that said, hey, my wife saw you on Facebook, and you know, we really like what you're doing, and you know, we're about 7 miles west of where you are right now, but you know, if you can make it up here, we would love to have you. People keep texting me. We'd love to have you. You know, you're welcome to spend the night, and we'd love to, you know, hear about your story and what's motivating you. And I thought it was really nice, and I didn't want to be rude and not respond, so I gave him a call just to say thank you for. I'm well past that area now, but I wanted to give him a call to at least say thank you. I didn't want him to think that I was unappreciative of his offer. So I even had to double check him. I want to say his name is Scott, but I got to double check that. So I just called him up and said, hey, this is Jim from Point to Thumb Journey. I'm walking across and he left me a voicemail. I said, oh my God, yeah. So I explained that I've already been past him, but I didn't want to be rude, so I really appreciate his offer. And again, I have not asked for on this journey a ride, a penny, or a room per se. I kind of tell people what I'm doing, and if somebody offers, that's the humanity I'm talking about. And people have certainly given me some money, people have given me a ride from time to time, and people certainly have given me rooms. So he said, well, you know what, where are you now? And I told him, he said, I know exactly where you are. He said, I don't work all that far from there. He said, it's up to you, but if I don't mind coming and getting you after work, and I can drop you back off there on the way in tomorrow morning, so you're picking right back up where you left off, if you're okay with that. And heck, if I can get myself a place to stay lined up earlier in the day, it's only better for me. And certainly I like to, I like to do it when people understand and know what I'm doing. Sometimes I kind of feel like I might be intruding on some folks, and I don't want to do that at all. But so I'll be meeting up with him later this afternoon. I'm going to head into I want to go see the VFW in town here. I didn't have anywhere specific in Valparaiso to head to. So I reached out to the VFW and had a friend send an email, and they said, yeah, bring him on by. So I'm going to walk around town that way and go from there. But now it leads me to the story this morning. So one of the things that is really a turn on for me, and I don't mean sexual, I mean a turn on about people, is when people point the thumb at themselves and say, this is who I am, right? The whole world plays pretend and puts this facade out there that we're all supposed to believe. We all know the story of that family that, they go to church and everybody looks at them and says, my God, they're the perfect family. And then all of a sudden, there's TV shows made about these people because of the dysfunction behind closed doors. Well, own that dysfunction, own what your issues are. So I was walking up today here along Route 30 and a car pulled up, and it was no luxury vehicle, and rolled my window in, and the gentleman just said, hey, can I offer you a ride? And I said, well, I think there's a speedway a couple miles up the road, or a pilot. Would you mind just taking me there and, let me know? I said, can I talk to you a little bit? He said, sure. So we jumped in the car and gave him my card and kind of told him what I was doing. And I started asking him a little bit about himself. And the gentleman's name is Dave. And I don't know why people are, well, they seem to be, maybe it's just my impression, but people seem to be really open and honest with me about things. And I love it. And I don't know if that's because they're open and honest with everybody. I don't know if that they feel a certain trust with me or whatever, but, and I'm not necessarily saying Dave is his name because of what I'm about to talk about. So Dave gives me a ride, and I didn't take his picture like I normally do because, again, what I'm about to talk about. So Dave gives me a ride, and I asked him about himself, and he lives in Plymouth, has 3 kids. I think one is out of the house. One thing that we didn't talk about and I didn't press was whether he's married, divorced, or where he's at. But what David told me was that he suffers from depression. And again, I think that's amazing that somebody can say, again, I want to open up the door to communication to people and have us stop judging. And I think if you can own things like that, you will be judged less. And I know there's always going to be some folks out there that do the judging. But again, Dave could have portrayed himself as some happy-go-lucky guy for the 2.5-minute drive, and then we sat and talked for about 15-20 minutes before he went to work. But he didn't. He said, no, I suffer from depression. I was working at a job. I think he's an engineer. And he said the job just got really overwhelming for me. It got too much for me, and I ended up resigning my position. He said, I didn't work for 3 years. And I said, well, can I ask how that depression, manifested itself? Did it cause you to shut in and pull in? Did it cause you to be angry? Did it cause, any harm emotionally or physically to the kids and the family? And he confessed. He said, look, clearly it wears on my kids. I think my 2 younger ones, have it. I take medication for it now. He said, when I went into it, before they give you medication, they kind of encourage you to get therapy. He said, that opened my eyes because, I went and bared my soul to these people. He said, and there are good and bad therapists, or at least maybe not good and bad therapists, I'm sure there are, but he said there are some just connect with you and others don't. He was telling me about how early on he was talking with a therapist, and he was sharing with him how he just couldn't get focused on his job at times, and he just couldn't do it. And I guess she tried many things with him, and then eventually she basically said, well, look, man, you're just gonna have to suck it up and do it. And he's like, really? You'd think if I could suck it up and do it that I'd be here with you right now, spending the last 6 months of my life kind of talking to you about this? So it really kind of bothered him and turned him off to counseling from that standpoint. But I was amazed, he said no anger, but the more depressed you get, the as you sit home and dwell on these things, the more it just kind of festers. And I can't really say that it goes. We had enough time to talk more than that, and I'm certainly nobody that's qualified to share anything like that with him. But I just want to say, again, what I really was impressed with was that he was willing to share that with me. But again, that so many people, and I used that illustration before, I'll use it again. If you find out a friend has cancer, you have no problem saying, hey, how are you doing beating that? And you're rooting for them, and they have no problem owning it. Oh, I'm going for another round of chemo, and I want to beat this thing. They didn't ask for that cancer, but the things that I've learned recently into my own personal life with folks is that, and people close to me, is that, just like cancer, no one asked for. Nobody asks to be bipolar or get depressed and things of that nature. And I want to be able to put my arms around some of these folks and say it'll be okay. I know there are different levels of it, and sometimes it can get violent and scary, and you always got to be careful of that as well. But I just really was, I don't know, I just love Dave for pointing a thumb at himself and saying, no, this is who I am. And then what was really neat was he went out of his way to talk about his job that he's at now, and that he was going to. He was so excited to be working there, and he even said, look, we want to know how great this company is. When I told them about my situation, they actually looked at my strengths and what I do really well, and they rewrote my job description tailored to the things that I'm really, really good at. The things that overwhelmed me and I couldn't do, they kind of removed them from my job description because they value me as an employee, they value me as a person, and they know I'm an asset. But if they kept this range of things I needed to do, and I wasn't able to complete 2 or 3 of them, then I wouldn't be valued, and I would probably be on the outside looking in. He said, but they were very, very great about understanding what I can do and my talents are, and actually rewrote the job description for me. And I know large corporations that they're so, we have to treat everybody the same and this and that. And I don't know the name of the company, he didn't tell me, but I just think that's an amazing thing too. And you could just see it in how he talked about it. So he'll be an employee with them for life because he actually looks at them as a family, as a partner, somebody that understands him. So Dave, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for opening up to me. Folks, understand out there that there are so many people, some that still have the facade up, some that open up and say they do. But if they open up and say they do, don't just shrug your shoulders and say, hey, look, just get over it. Don't shrug your shoulders and say, well, go take some meds. Every person that suffers has their own distinct issues with it. And maybe more than anything in the last 6 months that I'm starting to learn about is kind of my ability to be accepting of folks that have some of these things. So that was my morning today. I'll keep you updated. I'm going to be heading to VFW here in Valparaiso in the next couple of hours. I've got a place to stay tonight. I'll be updating you guys with that. I'm sure there's going to be many more journey stories along the way. To those folks last night that I met and that helped me and that was supportive, again, so much love for you guys. My little boy and my daughter are home right now getting ramped up for the vacation next week. Grace is in Wisconsin. But I love you guys so very, very much, and have a great, great day, guys. Thanks.